Hello and welcome to Create Crochet with me, Rebecca. In today's video we're going to learn how to make this very simple but really beautiful wrist warmer. Now you can make it as long up your arm as you'll want. You can add some sparkles, you can add some bling, whatever you want, but I'm going to show you how to do the very basic side of this attractive wrist warmer, and it really does keep your hands quite warm. So let's get started. To make your super cozy wrist warmers, you're going to need a yarn of your choice. Follow the instructions on the tag of the yarn as to what size hook you're going to be using. For me, I'm going to be using a 4.5mm hook, some scissors just to snip off any ends, and a needle to sew in those ends. The way to start them is, first of all, by making a slip knot. So you have this short end here and this long end which is attached to the ball of your yarn. Getting the small end, wrap it around to make a loop, and holding it at this cross section here with the long end, push it through the loop, catch it up, hold on to it and pull. And that's your slip knot made. Put your hook through. Now hold on to the knot and gently push to make sure it sits comfortably on your hook. And that's about as much gap as you need. So go ahead and chain. And the way we chain is by holding on to our work here. Go yarn over, which is always front to back, and pull that loop through, and that's a chain. So each time you pull the yarn through the loop, that's one chain. Now there are no sizes on this, happily. It's all up to your hand size or whoever's hand you're making it for. Now I've got quite large hands, it's because I like cake. And so I'm going to need to make quite a long chain. So you keep going, and what you're going to do is measure it against the largest part of your hand, and we'll go through that once I've made my chain as long as I need it to be. And to make your wrist warmer, we're going to be crocheting in the round. So that's what my chain looks like. It's nice and even. Each chain is the same size. If you're struggling with making the chain the same size, each chain the same size as its partner, pause here and go ahead and just figure out how to make the chain nice and neat and tidy for you. So the way you measure it against your hand is you hold it here and clasp it with your thumb, because we don't want to measure the thumb. We're going to be measuring around this part here, which is just underneath my knuckles, and has got this part in here, and that's the largest part of your hand. So that's where you want to measure how long your chain is. So you just take it around your hand, and that's about as long as I need to take it. So I'm measuring it from the slip knot to the last chain that I made, and I'm taking it around my hand. Now you want it to move around your hand quite freely, otherwise it's going to be too tight to wear. And yes, you want your hands warm, but no, you don't want them suffocated. You still want your hands to be able to do what they need to do. So here's where you need to concentrate a little bit. You need to make sure that your chain is flat, and the way you do this is, if it's a bit twisted like this, start at the first chain that you made and just slip your hands across, not pulling, just slipping your hands through, and that's how to make sure your chain is not twisted. And then you slip stitch into the first chain that you made. So picking up the top two loops of the chain and push it through. Although it's 2 loops, it only actually counts as 1. Make sure that you've got, sorry, my words didn't want to come out then. Make sure you've got the long piece that's attached to your yarn and not this end here. Yarn over and bring through once and bring through twice. And chain 3. The chain 3 counts as your first double crochet US turn or treble crochet UK turn. So that's my chain, not twisted all the way around. If you're used to grasping hold of this long piece here and fixing it on your chain and doing your stitches incorporating it, go ahead and do that. If not, I'm going to show you how to do that. So to do a double crochet, yarn over, and all the way around the chain you're going to pick up the top 2 loops of the chain. If you separate your chain out, you'll be able to see the three pieces of yarn that make up the chain. So to do a double crochet, yarn over. You don't need to go into this chain here because that's where your 3 chain comes out of, which again counts as your first double crochet. You go into the next one. Now it can get a bit fiddly, and if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to incorporate this piece of yarn into your work, you finding it too fiddly if you're a beginner, that's fine. Leave it out completely, move it completely out of the way, and you can stitch it in later on. You can weave it in, and again I will show you how to do that. So picking up the top 2 loops of your chain circle, keeping this flat against your chain, yarn over and bring through once, yarn over, bring through 2, over and bring through 2. And yes, you've got this gap here, but you won't when you've finished. Through the 2 loops, holding on to this piece of straggly yarn, yarn over and bring through the chain, yarn over, making sure that I use the long piece and not the piece I'm incorporating into my work. Bring through 2, yarn over, bring through 2. Each one of these, once you've completed it, can either be called a stitch or a bar. So we're going to go all the way around, bringing up the 2 loops of the chain and completing our double crochet. Again, double crochet is US turn, and if you want the UK turn, it's a treble crochet. When you are doing this into the chain, making these stitches into the chain, only do 1 stitch into each chain. If you do 2 stitches into 1 chain, you are in effect making an increase, and when you measured it against your hand, it will become bigger. So we're going to keep going round, all the way round, until we get to our first double crochet, which was our 3 chain here. If you're finding that it's really quite hard to get your hook through your chain, it's something called tension, and your tension is too tight. Your hook, with a little bit of persuading for some people, should go through those 2 loops of the chain. So here I'm going to stop incorporating this so I can show those who don't want to do this how to sew it in once we have finished our wrist warmer. I'm just going to move that out of the way. See, my hook goes through really, really easily, so that means my tension is okay. When I first started crocheting, which wasn't that long ago, I was really, really struggling to get my hook through the chain. So just ease off a little bit. Allow the hook to do the work for you. Bring through 2. Bring through 2. So there you can clearly see each bar or each stitch going along. So carry on going around and I will meet you back at the 3 chain space. I'm about there coming round. I've got a couple of more stitches to do. So I'm going to put 1 in here. And I'm not going to do 1 into this one here because that's where my 3 chain space has come out. Now we're going to slip stitch into the top of our 3 chain. Now you can either visually see where it is, for me it's here, or count up. So that's 1, 2 and 3. So slip stitch again, it's yarn over, bring through once, bring through twice. And that's round 1 of your wrist warmer made. Just double check it on your hand. Yeah, that sits quite nicely on mine. So by doing the double crochet, it allows your work to grow really, really quickly. So this is a sit in front of the TV task. So chain 3, which counts as your first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet all the way around. Now if you look at the top, you can clearly see the top is made up of 2 loops. As with the chain, we are going to be making sure that we pick up those 2 loops that look like a kiss. Whoa. So off we go. Chain 3 counts as the first stitch. So we're going along to the next double crochet. Excuse me. If you go into this one here, again you're going to be making an increase, which is going to be great if you want to make a pyramid, but if you want to make a wrist warmer that's the same size all the way along, make sure, check that you're not going into this first one here. So this is the top of my first bar, so I know that's where I need to put my first double crochet of round 2. So picking up the 2 loops, yarn over, bring through those loops, yarn over, bring through 2, bring through 2, and on to the next one. Excuse me. So each time you finish a round, you slip stitch into the top of the 3 chain space, concentrating on going into each loop, the top of each bar only once, so as not to make an increase. If you can't tell, I'm so sorry, if you can't tell whether it's this bit here you need to go into, or this bit here, or this bit here, shuffle your work a little bit and it will become clear that this has a stitch coming out of it. So it's this one along that you need to put your next double crochet into. As requested on Facebook by Diane, she would like me to show you how to make these as long as the elbow. It's quite simple. However long you want to make it, pause the video now, go ahead and make them as long as you want. When you think you've done enough, what you need to do is try it on, and your stopping point is here, where the bottom of your thumb, right there. That's where you need to rejoin me on the video, because we need to make the hole for the thumb to come through. So go ahead, enjoy yourself, put your favourite movie on, or watch your favourite TV show, and sit there and carry on and make these. Don't forget, every time you come to the end of the round, slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, and then once you've slip stitched, chain 3 to make your first double crochet, not going into that loop, but go all the way around with your stitches. And this is what is termed crocheting in the round, when you're going round and round in a circle. Once you've made your wrist warmers as long as you want them to be, carry on and press play, and I will see you when you press play. How did you get on with that? Did you watch your favourite TV show while you were doing it? Fantastic. So I'm just about to do my last few stitches here. Before I come, I've measured it against my hand, and this is about the size I want my wrist warmer to be. So I'm not going to go into that one there, because that's where my chain has just come out of, but I am still going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain that made up our first double crochet. Now slipping this on just to make sure it is definitely the size that I want, and it goes on really quite nicely, and yes, that comes to about where I want the opening for my thumb to go. So here is the super secret, super easy way of doing the thumb hole. It couldn't be easier. That's all twisted. I'm just going to take my hook out and sort that out. In we go. So when you go round, you chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Go round once more, all the way around. Honestly, this is so easy. If you are teaching someone how to crochet, this is a really, really great place to start, because in effect you're learning how to do 3 different stitches. You're learning how to chain, you're learning how to slip stitch, and you're learning the double crochet stitch. So it's a double crochet US term, as I said, and the UK term for this stitch is the treble crochet. I'm only teaching you the absolute basics of how to make this wrist warmer. Once you've made it, you can decorate it, you can sew things onto it, completely personalise it. It will be completely personalised to the size of your hand. Obviously, if you have a smaller hand than me, this is going to be a lot quicker. If you're making it for a child, it's exactly the same process. If you're making one that goes up to your elbow, or even if you're taking it up to your shoulder, all the same. It's one basic pattern, suits all needs. So I'm going all the way around. You're going to be amazed at my magic of easiness when it comes to doing the thumb. Because this is a complete beginner's pattern, I'm not going to make a thumb shaft. I'm not going to go up the thumb at all. I'm literally going to leave a gap for where the thumb comes through. Nearly all the way around now. So what show did you watch? What happened in your show? Hope it was good. So here we are, coming all the way around, making sure I catch both loops up. And I go into the previous round's double crochet and into this one. Just going to let some more yarn out. This yarn is so soft, it's so lovely to work with. It's just a cheap one that I bought up from my local craft shop. When you're making a wrist warmer, feel the wool, and if it's soft to touch, it's going to be nice on your hands. So I've got one more to do here. So I've gone yarn over, in, over for 2, over for 3, and stop. Now you are not going to slip stitch to the top of your 3 chain space. You're going to chain 3 here, make the loop bigger, take your hook out and turn and put your hook back in, tighten up the loop. The reason why you take your hook out and then turn and put your hook back in is that you don't twist this chain. And you go back the other way. All the way around. So easy. And as you can already see, that has created a gap here which your thumb is going to go into. This again, the size and how many rows you're going to need to crochet is completely dependable upon the thumb size who you are making this wrist warmer for. It actually makes a really, really great stocking filler. Or if you've got one of those friends that just has everything and you really don't know what to make them, this is a good one. I always think these are good for boys to make. Boys do need to, you know, exercise their creative side. When you go shopping for craft for boys, do you always find that all the boxes are pink and have got girls on the front? I've got one child and he's a boy. He loves doing craft, but he never wants to buy any of the boxes because he doesn't want to appear too girly. I say to him, you know, it's fine. Doesn't matter, once it's out of the box, your imagination is yours. But because this doesn't come in a box, and because the child can go shopping with you, choose their yarn, get all excited over the kind of hook that you get them, it can be a really cheap, inexpensive way for a boy to get into a craft. Now if you know how to change colours, I'm not doing it on this video because this is for the complete beginner. You can change colours at any point, however you want to make it. Make it stripy or rainbow, it's up to you. Whoever you're making this for, whatever colour they like, make it in that colour. So we're all, more or less all the way back round now. I've got one more double crochet to go into, which is that one. And then I need to go into the top of the 3 chain space, which if I count is 1, 2, and then this here is my 3 chain space that I need to fit my double crochet into. Now I've only brought up 1 loop there, that's fine. If you can get it through 2, go through 2. If you can get it through 1, go through 1. Again, instead of slip stitching across, chain 3. Now it might be at this stage your thumb fits through this gap, and again the way you measure it is put it on. So that needs to sit at the bottom of your thumb, and the way you measure it is just by bringing it round like that. Now that's too tight for my thumb, that wouldn't feel comfortable on your thumb. If you want it tighter, have it tighter. I would like mine, I think maybe just one row bigger. How to count your rows. This would be a really great place to tell you how to do this. As you can see, it's a bit of a lacy effect. That's exactly how I wanted mine to turn out. Each one of these is one double crochet, and it's completely made up of all these bars going up. By counting these bars, that's one line. Each bar is one row. Can you see? All the way up is one row. So I'm going to do one more row to fit my thumb into. As I said, I like cake, I've got big hands. Chocolate's my favourite. I like cake. Feels like a confession. Hello, my name's Rebecca and I'm here because I like cake. I can sit back down now. So I just needed to share that with you as I was going around. I like cake and crochet. So going back all the way, take some more yarn out, didn't take enough last time. So although I'm using a wool yarn, if you don't like the feel of wool, or if you have eczema and can't stand wool, or you just don't want to use wool, there are other products on the market such as nylon thread or cotton thread. Whatever thread you decide to use, follow the instructions on the label as to what size hook you need. Most hooks come in packs. You can just buy singular hooks, but it's a lot cheaper if you buy them in the packs, and they're a range of sizes then, so you've always got them to hand. I've got about 3 or 4 packs because I like one size, it works for me, and then in another pack I prefer that hook. I'm not saying you have to go out and buy different packets of hooks. It's a shame you can't actually get into the packs before you buy them to feel whether you like the touch of the hooks. So going all the way back around yourself, picking up the top 2 loops. The reason why you pick up the top 2 loops is it just makes your work a little bit stronger. If you're only picking up the front or the back loop, you may inadvertently create a mini pattern in the middle of your work. And for this, we just want our work to be consistent all the way through, especially if you're giving it as a gift. So coming back round, I've got this double crochet to go into here. So concentrating a lot more here, not talking about cake. And then I need to pick up the top here. This might be a bit of a squeeze, but I'm going to make sure that I go through. When you go through, make sure that you're not going through the 3 chain space, that you are actually going into the stitch. Now I know that that's going to be big enough for my thumb now. Yep, that all meets up and I'm happy with that. My thumb is snug, but it's not really tight. That's the length I've done mine. You can keep going up the arm. Just keep going, doing your rows of double crochet. Once you've made the hole big enough for your thumb to fit into, you carry on like you did all of these. Super simple. From here, you slip stitch into the top of the 3 chain space. Through 1, through 2, chain 3, which counts as your first double crochet. Again, I'm using the US term, and that is the gap that you've made for your thumb. And now you just carry on going all the way around, going into each double crochet until it goes up your fingers the size that you want to go up your hand. It won't be many rows, so keep trying it on. After each row, after each round or row, however you want to phrase it, try it on. Now, I don't want this to go hugely up my fingers. I don't want it to go all the way up here. I'm not counting any of this. So I'm going to go all the way around. So yes, if you are a beginner crochet, this is the perfect way to start. If you are teaching someone how to crochet, this would be a good thing to show them. Show them this video, and you can sit and do it together over a nice cup of tea. Or a milky brew, as my son calls it. If you are having a milky brew, it's probably best if you don't have cake at this point, because you don't want to get crumbs all over your beautiful wrist warmer. Have some cookies or some biscuits to dunk in it instead. Sorry. So going all the way around. And then you slip stitch into the third chain. So that's 1, 2, 3. So here I do want to catch up both loops onto my hook. See there, 2 hooks, 2 loops, and slip off. So as my advice to you, I'm going to try it on after each round. Yeah, want it a little bit further up my wrist, so maybe one more round should do it. Again, this is how I want my wrist warmer to be. It might not be how you want your wrist warmer to be. If you are making it for little hands, this might be a good place to finish. Quite therapeutic doing the same stitch over and over again. It's quite relaxing. Going all the way around into each and every single one. I hope you've had fun making this. It is quick and it is easy once you get to grips with the stitches. If you're struggling with the stitches, it's okay to pull apart your work, pull it all apart and start again. It doesn't take long excuse me, it doesn't take long if you're doing the same stitch over and over again to learn to crochet. Because I knew I only wanted one more stitch, I am actually going to finish my work on this round. I'm not going to go into that one because that's where my chain comes out of, and I'm going to go into the top of my 3 chain. Oh, I did a yarn over. Into the top of the 3 chain and slip stitch. If you get your scissors, you want to make sure when you cut this off that you have about that much, because you need to sew this in. Pull through, pull quite tightly on that knot, and that is your wrist warmer made. Doesn't look like much, but what you can do is sew pictures onto here, or sew patches onto here, or put buttons down the side, bling it up a little bit with some beads along the edges. It's up to you, it's completely personal. So thread the yarn on, making sure that you catch all of the different pieces of yarn. As you can see, the yarn is made up of different strands. You want to make sure that each one of those strands goes through the eye of the needle. Catch it through. Now this is going to be too long. We are going to have to cut some more yarn off of this. Push the needle through your work, and you'll be able to feel it between these 2 fingers. Careful you don't stab yourself. Push it through, and what you want is for the work not to lie flat like that and then cut it off. You want to pull it slightly so that it gathers or puckers. Cut the yarn as near to your work as you dare without actually cutting your work. Pull it out, and that piece of thread has completely disappeared. All done. Thank you very much for watching Create Crochet's video, and I hope to see you again. Happy crocheting, everyone!